All right, let's talk about leadership. It's this word that gets thrown around all the time, right? Everyone says they want it, everyone talks about it, but what does it actually mean? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and get to the heart of what it really takes to be a leader. So let me ask you something, and this is a big one from leadership guru John Maxwell. Imagine tomorrow, poof, all your titles are gone. You're not the manager, not the director, not the CEO. Would anyone, and be honest with yourself, would anyone still choose to follow you? That gut feeling you have right now, that tells you everything. Because real leadership, it has nothing to do with your spot on the org chart. It's all about influence. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get past the whole job title thing. Then we'll dig into the actual DNA of a great leader. And finally, we'll lay out a simple playbook so you can start your own journey. All right, part one, beyond the title. Look, the first thing you have to get is that leadership isn't some magic trait you're born with, and it's definitely not just a job title. The big takeaway from all the experts is this: it's a skill that anyone, and I mean anyone, can learn and get better at. The whole game changes the second you stop worrying about your position and start thinking about your influence. And this table just lays it out so perfectly, doesn't it? The difference between being a boss and being a leader. A boss, well, they drive people using authority. They inspire fear. They point fingers when things go wrong, and it's always, I this and you go do that. But a leader, totally different vibe. They guide people. They build trust. They inspire enthusiasm. They take responsibility. Notice the language? It's not go, it's let's go. It's not I, it's we. They're in the trenches with the team. So when you boil it all down, leadership, or leaderlick, as one of our sources calls it, is simply the art of influence. That's it. It's about getting a group of people excited about a shared goal and then helping them get there. You know, a job title can be given and taken away in a second, but the trust you build, the influence you have, that's the stuff that sticks. Okay, so if it's all about influence, then what does it take to actually build that influence? What are the ingredients? Well, that brings us to our next section, where we're going to look at the DNA of a leader, the absolute core traits that make them tick. You know, it's pretty amazing. When you look at all the research from different experts and universities, the same four things keep popping up over and over. They're the absolute pillars of leadership. We're talking about vision and strategy, communication and empathy, resilience and action, and of course, integrity and honesty. Let's take a look at each one. So first, you've got vision and strategy. Think of it this way. A leader is kind of like an architect of the future. Their number one job is to create a blueprint of what's possible, a picture so vivid and exciting that other people look at it and go, wow, I want to help build that. It's not just having a dream, it's also having the map to get there. And there's this incredible story that just perfectly captures this idea. At the opening of Disneyland, years after Walt Disney had died, someone said to his wife, "It's such a shame Walt isn't here to see this." And she replied, without missing a beat, "If Walt hadn't seen it, none of us would be here." I mean, chills, right? That is the power of vision, seeing it so clearly in your mind that it becomes real for everyone else. Okay, next up, communication and empathy. And this is huge. You can have the best vision in the world, but if you can't connect with people, it's useless. Great leaders are just talking heads. They're great listeners. They tune in. They try to understand. They remember that their team is made up of human beings, not just employees. That's how you build real, genuine trust. And then there's resilience and action. You know, it's easy to lead when everything's going great. But the real test, that comes during a crisis. When the pressure's on, a true leader doesn't run for cover or start pointing fingers. Nope, they step up. They face the problem head on and see it not as a disaster, but as a chance to learn and get stronger. They're the calm in the storm. And finally, we have the bedrock of it all: integrity and honesty. This one is non-negotiable. Think about it. Trust is the currency of leadership. Without it, you're bankrupt. If a leader isn't transparent, if they don't do the right thing, if they take all the credit and none of the blame, that trust evaporates, just gone. So integrity has to be the foundation for everything else. Okay, so we know what leadership is. It's influence. And we know what a leader looks like. They've got vision, empathy, resilience, and integrity. But the big question is, how do you become one? Well, that's what this last part is all about. We're moving from theory to action with your very own leadership playbook. All right, so how do you do it? The experts all point to a pretty clear 4-step path. Step 1, it all starts with self-awareness. You've got to know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, what you really stand for. Step 2, never stop learning. Be a sponge. Read books, find mentors. Just stay curious about everything. Step 3, practice. You can't learn to swim from a book. You have to jump in the water. Take on new responsibilities, big or small. And step 4, and this might be the most important, get feedback. Ask people how you're doing. Find a coach. You can't grow if you can't see your own blind spots. And that last point, seeking feedback, it ties into something so powerful in modern leadership, something Brené Brown talks about a lot. It's this idea that real, courageous leaders aren't trying to be perfect. They're trying to be honest. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to show up, be seen, and admit when you're wrong or when you need help. That vulnerability, that's what builds incredible trust. And really, that's the main takeaway here. Leadership isn't a mountain you climb and then you're done. It's a journey. It's this ongoing process of learning a little more, practicing a little more, and growing a little more every single day. And the best part? It's a path that's open to absolutely anyone who's willing to walk it. So that brings it all back to you. The code has been cracked. The playbook is in your hands. Now, the only question left is, what are you going to do with it? What's the one small first step you'll take on your leadership journey today? Thanks for tuning in. All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a topic that's huge in pretty much every field: leadership. We're going to break down the actual blueprint for how people become the kinds of leaders who inspire teams, drive real innovation, and just get things done. So let's just jump right in with the age-old question, right? Are leaders born with some kind of special innate gift? Is it something you either have or you don't? Or is there more to the story? For the longest time, the popular idea was that true leadership was for a chosen few. But what we know now tells a totally different story. The real truth, the core idea of this explainer, is that leadership isn't magic. It's a skill. And just like any other skill, it's something you can actually learn, practice, and build over time. Okay, but before we can even start building that skill, we've got to be on the same page about what it actually is. So let's get a really clear definition of what modern leadership looks like today. I think this classic quote from John Maxwell just says it all. Leadership isn't about having a fancy title or a corner office. It's an active role. It's about having the vision, being willing to walk that path yourself, and then crucially, showing others how to get there too. And this really helps clear up a super common point of confusion. We tend to use the words leader and manager like they're the same thing, but they're not. They're fundamentally different. A manager, well, they direct people and focus on keeping the existing structure running smoothly. But a leader? They guide and coach. They focus on the people. They challenge the way things are to create a vision for the future, and they inspire trust. Think of it this way. A manager has employees, but a leader has followers. All right, so if leadership is a skill, what are the actual ingredients? What's in the toolbox? Let's break down the core traits, the real building blocks that every single effective leader works on. First up, let's talk about the big picture stuff. Vision and strategy. A leader has to have a clear vision. They can see a future that doesn't exist yet, and they can actually create a roadmap to get there. But a vision is nothing without action, right? That's where problem solving comes in, that skill of looking at really complex issues and making solid, effective decisions. And of course, in the world we live in, flexibility is everything. Leaders have to adapt on the fly and be the ones driving innovation, not just reacting to it. But let's be real. That vision and strategy, it means absolutely nothing without people. Great leaders are amazing communicators. But you know what's a huge part of that? Listening. Really, truly listening. That builds empathy, the ability to genuinely connect with what your team needs and how they're feeling. And this isn't about being soft, it's about being smart. When people feel seen and understood, they're all in. And all of this leads to a deep focus on teamwork, where the leader's main job is to create a space where everyone can do their best work. And finally, we get to the absolute bedrock of leadership, character. This is about having the courage to make those tough calls and the determination to stick with them. And maybe the most important piece of all is honesty and ethics. A leader's integrity is the foundation everything else is built on. Because without trust, leadership is impossible. It just doesn't exist. And this quote from Brené Brown just nails the modern understanding of leadership. It reminds us that the whole idea of the perfect, all-knowing, infallible leader, that's over. Today's most powerful leaders are the ones who are authentic. They're not afraid to be vulnerable and honest. And that's what gives their teams the psychological safety to be brave and innovative too. Okay, so we know what leadership is, and we know the traits it requires. The next logical question is, how do you actually build them? How do you get there? Let's walk through the actual process for forging a leader. See, becoming a leader isn't like taking a class and getting a certificate. It's a continuous cycle, a loop. It all starts with step one, self-awareness. You have to know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values. From there, you move to step two. You learn constantly, from books, from mentors. Then step three is crucial. You have to practice and apply it. You need real-world experience. And that leads to step four, which closes the loop. You have to seek out honest feedback and reflect on how you did. And that reflection, it just feeds right back into your self-awareness, and the whole cycle starts over again, making you stronger each time. Now, let's put this entire blueprint to the ultimate test. There is no situation that reveals a leader's true abilities more than guiding a team through a crisis. This is where leaders are truly forged in fire. So first, what are we really talking about when we say crisis? Well, it's any sudden, unexpected event that just blows up normal operations. It creates massive uncertainty, and it requires urgent, high-stakes decisions to be made right now. It is without a doubt a moment of truth. And dealing with these moments and preparing people for them is a huge challenge. Just think about this number for a second, 41%. What do you suppose that represents? That is the percentage of CEOs who say that developing the next generation of leaders is their single biggest challenge. And a crisis? Well, a crisis is the ultimate test of that development. It's where all the training and all the theory gets put into practice, for real. So when the pressure is on, how do great leaders actually behave? They tend to follow a 5-step playbook. First, they perceive. They have to quickly and accurately figure out what is happening. That clarity lets them decide and do it with conviction. Then comes maybe the most important step. They communicate openly, clearly, and constantly. As they're communicating, they coordinate, empowering their team to work together. And finally, after it's over, they learn. They analyze what went wrong and what went right, so they're even more prepared for whatever comes next. So if you take one big idea away from all of this, let it be this one. Leadership isn't some finish line you cross or a title you finally get. As we've seen, whether it's through that development cycle or the test of a crisis, it is a continuous, never-ending journey of growth. The blueprint is pretty clear. Leadership is a skill. It's built on a core set of traits, and it's forged in a cycle of practice and reflection. So the only real question left is the one for you. Your own leadership journey starts right now. What's your first step going to be? Thanks for watching The Explainer.